Just a second.
3, 2, 1. All right, that's Facebook. That's the last one. Now we're just waiting on the watch party.
Okay.
Okay. Welcome to day 17 of Crazy Cabin Fever Cocktails with Distilled Living. I'm Tim Niddle. I realized I haven't been introducing myself for these things, and I should probably start doing that. So in the future ones, I'll tell you who I am. For day 17, the weather has turned a little bit chilly, and it looks like it's going to be chilly for a few days, so we're going to do some hot cocktails. The most classic to me is a variant of the toddy, although the toddy is probably the most basic, but the most classic to me is going to be the hot buttered rum. We're going to do a rum and we're going to do a bourbon. And it's just like it sounds. And a lot of people think that that's weird. Do you put cream in your coffee? Yes, you probably do. Butter is just concentrated cream. That's one way of thinking about it. So that totally makes sense to me in a hot drink. Now, if you were making a real historic style hot buttered rum, you'd be looking for a big, heavy, funky Jamaican style rum. Something's going to bring a lot of weight and a lot of character and a lot of oomph and things with it. Didn't have any of that. The rum that I had in-house was from Second Sight, and I had two. They make a spiced rum, but I'm going to set that aside for the moment because I'm going to use their unbarreled clear rum, and I'm going to spice this cocktail myself to just give it the character that I want it to have. Now I have preheated the glass, which is really important, especially because these aren't super thermal insulated things. But even with an insulated one, preheating it, pre-warming your glass for this kind of cocktail is really nice. So I started out with some boiling water in there. And get the boiling water out. And then basically I'm going to dump all the ingredients in, add some hot water and stir. It's pretty simple and pretty easy to do. This isn't a huge glass, so I'm going to do about 1.5 ounces of rum. The more rum you put in this, the less volume you have for hot water, so the cooler the cocktail is going to be and it's going to get more quickly. So that's one of the considerations there. Now I'm going to go ahead and throw...
You make it cold quickly. I think you just said quick warm.
Sorry, other way around. That's what I meant to say. I'm going to add some spices into this. I'm going to do just a touch of ground cloves, and I'm going to do a tiny little bit. Cloves can overpower things pretty easily. So I'm just going to do a little bit. A little bit more. Just like that. That's going to be really nice. Fresh grate some cinnamon over this. And then I'm going to leave the cinnamon out for my second cocktail. So just have my microplane. Cinnamon. Doesn't need a huge amount. And then same thing with nutmeg. Nutmeg's fun to work with, but like the cloves, nutmeg tends to overpower very easily. So this is just going to get tiny little bit. Now I do need some sugar, and as I keep talking about, sugar doesn't dissolve in alcohol. That's okay, I'm about to dump a whole bunch of water on this. That's going to make it work. And this is not meant to be a very sweet cocktail. This is meant to be a very fatty cocktail. The butter is going to be your signature on it, but you want a little bit of sweetness, otherwise it's going to be a little tannic, a little bit bitter. So I'm just using about a teaspoon or so, or about a half a bar spoon, and that's just going to go right on top there. And then I'm going to introduce about half a pat, 3/4 of a pat of butter or so, just like this. The whole historic recipes call for like a half a walnut or something size. It's kind of weird. And I'm actually using a little bit less even than I want in the final cocktail, because I'm going to reserve a little bit of butter to go on the top. So just like that. I'm going to give it a little bit of a stir. It's not really going to do anything at this point, but that way it's all ready for me to step off and get the hot water. Okay, I'm back. I wasn't going long, was I? So I'm just going to fill this pretty close to the top. Oh, got to disappear again. And then I'm going to stir it. The The sugar's going to dissolve immediately. The spices aren't really going to dissolve because I am using those fresh spices, but I think that gives it more impact. And I'm looking to get the butter to dissolve. This is just going to take a second. You can see it's starting to work its way out there. It's starting to give this drink a little bit of color. And then, it almost looks more like medicine at this point. That's alright, it's got a beautiful aroma on it. Okay, now here is the way I like to do this. This is not part of the traditional recipe, but I think this gives it a lot of interest. I'm going to take just a little bit more butter. Well, I can do better than that. Flip this back over. And I'm going to put that on top. And it's going to float and slowly melt in. And I'm going to give this just a little bit more nutmeg, just to give it a little aromatic right on top. It was very common for bartenders back in the 1800s to put nutmeg on the top, just a little accent. Like bartenders today might do a twist with citrus. The nutmeg has kind of fallen out of fashion a little bit, but I think it adds something really elegant. Now this is going to have a hot fat layer on top, so it's going to have this beautiful aroma. You really smell the butter and the rum and all the spices and everything together, but it's going to be pretty warm, so sip gently.
So do you think that the walnut has to do with how they did butter and it wasn't necessarily a stick of butter?
Yeah, it wouldn't have been a stick. It wouldn't have been like this. It would have been something that came in a nice little wrap where you could tell where all your tablespoon marks and everything is. Man, every element of this shows through beautifully, which is one of the signs that you've constructed something really well. The sweetness actually is the most repressed element in that, but that's what I'm looking for in this drink. Now, I'm going to jump over. All right, I've got this one. That one's good. I'm going to jump over and make one with bourbon, because ostensibly this is a bourbon show, right? So, preheated glass. I'm going to be using Old Bardstown, because it's good and the price point's right. I'm going to do 1.5 again. Now, to this one, I'm going to add just a little bit of chocolate. So I'm going to make a chocolate bourbon buttered cocktail. Buttered bourbon? Okay, sure, why not? Just a little bit. I'm still going to add a little bit of sugar because that was a dark chocolate, but not as much sugar as before. I'll go through my spices here again.
And as always, we'll put the recipes online afterwards.
Yep. Clove, perfect. Exactly what I wanted there. And my cinnamon. And my nutmeg into the integration. Give it a stir. Nope, just in the butter. It's kind of important in a buttered cocktail. So, boom. Start to stir that up a bit. All right, disappear, bye-bye. And I'm back.
The perks of doing this in a medium-sized kitchen.
Yep. All right, so now I have the same thing. I'm gonna spend just a little bit to get this one to get all that butter to dissolve into the hot water. This would work a little bit better if the water is boiling, but then you'd be listening to the kettle in the background. And you see that the chocolate just dissolved, melted right into that hot water. No issues at all. You see how much more color this is going to have versus the other one. And I know that everything is fully integrated once the last little bit of the butter is going to be melted out. A little bit of chocolate sticking to the sides, but yeah. All right, and the way I'm going to top this one is that little extra sliver of butter. Yep, there it is, floating right back up. Took it a second to get there. And then I'm going to add a little bit more chocolate on top instead of the nutmeg on this one. I want enough that I'm getting a really strong aroma of dark chocolate coming off of that. And also, doesn't that look really, really pretty? If you can see that.
Yep.
With all of that grated chocolate on top. Oh, that's good. That's beautiful. And obviously, if you were going to make this as a mocktail, just use some black tea as your base. Just brew up some hot black tea, preferably one that is not flavored in any way. Add your own spices to it. Bring it to the spice level that you like to have. Melt some butter in there. If you're going to put cream in there, why not just go to butter? It's just a more intense version of cream. People think it's weird until you've done it and you taste it and you get it's a richer mouthfeel, it's a fattier mouthfeel, it's a richer cocktail.
These are the kind of drink where they aren't as pretty as some, but they are very, very tasty.
Yep. We put them in glass so you can see them, but if you serve this in a mug like this one, then you'd just be looking at that beautiful top. You won't be able to see the rest of the liquid. So there you go. Hot buttered cocktails, hot buttered rum, hot buttered bourbon to enjoy in this slightly cooler weather here before spring comes back. And then if we have winter again, maybe we'll do another hot drink before summer comes.
Since this is Kentucky, we have all the seasons in a matter of a week usually.
Yep, all the seasons, all the time. Thank you all for watching. As always, if you have any ideas for future episodes, you've got stuff in your pantry you want to see us use, please let us know. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Good night.
Good night. Oh, that's so good.